When was the last time you went for a walk in a forest? Today, we'll teach you some vocabulary and idioms connected to forests and trees. Welcome to
Aprender Inglés with Reza and Craig.
Hi, I'm Reza.
And I'm Craig.
We've got over 45 years of teaching experience between us, and we'll help you improve your English and take it to the next level.
So if you're a new listener, welcome to the podcast. And if you are a returning fan, thank you for coming back to listen to us again. Remember, you can subscribe on iTunes. You can find us on Spotify. We're on Apple devices, the website inglespodcast.com, and also on the new Google Podcast app. You can find us pretty much everywhere. Forests today. Any famous forests come to mind when you think of forests, Reza?
Yes, I suppose it's maybe a British thing, but above all, I think of Sherwood Forest, the legendary but real forest. It really exists, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's in Nottinghamshire, in England.
Sherwood Forest, that place where the legendary Robin Hood and his merry men robbed the rich to give to the poor, according to legend. Do you think it's true?
I think there might have been someone who altruistically took money from rich people by force and gave it to the poor. That stands to reason.
And indeed, the football team of that area is called Nottingham Forest, isn't it?
That's right, yeah. Nottingham Forest FC. There's the Black Forest, another famous forest in Germany. And it's called the Black Forest because it's so dense that very little light goes into it. So it's a very dark, dense forest, the Black Forest in Germany, which always reminds me of the Black Forest Gatto.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favourite cakes.
Oh, yeah. Now, the biggest of them all, of course, is the Amazon rainforest. So a rainforest is a forest where it rains a lot. The forest is so big that it kind of affects the climate around it. So just how big is the Amazon? Well, not only does it occupy a large part of Brazil, but also 8 other countries in South America, as I'm sure quite a few of our listeners probably know.
That's right. If we do have listeners in South America, so if you're listening to us from or in a rainforest somewhere in South America, please let us know. And you can write a comment on the website at inglespodcast.com. But more than that, we'd love to get a voice message from you. Tell us where you are and what it's like to live in a rainforest. There are also famous forests in California. There's the Redwood National and State Parks, where you can find the tallest trees on Earth, the famous redwood trees that you can actually drive through the trunk of the tree. The trunk is the big part at the bottom of a tree.
Yeah, they've actually got roads going through them, don't they?
That's right. They're enormous. I've never seen them, but I've seen pictures and they're absolutely huge. The redwood trees of California.
So we've been talking about forests, but what about the word wood? W-O-O-D. Is there a difference, Craig?
Well, wood is an uncountable noun. It can be the material, wood, madera. So the adjective would be wooden. You can have a wooden house or a wooden desk. But when wood is a countable noun, it is very, very similar to a forest. It's basically a collection of trees. So the difference is forests are generally larger. They are denser. We just spoke about that word denser. So forests are much denser and darker, más oscuro, than woods. So both have trees, but a forest is bigger, denser, and darker.
Something which you can find in woods or forests is a bush or a shrub, S-H-R-U-B, bush or shrub, arbusto in Spanish. But also there's a special use of the word bush. If we talk about the bush, we're talking about a whole rural forest area. We talk about the Australian bush or the South African bush.
Trees have branches, which are ramas in Spanish, branches, and from the branches you have smaller branches which are called twigs, Twig, ramitas in Spanish. So tree, branch and twig. What grows from twigs, Reza?
A leaf, L-E-A-F, is what you might find coming out of a branch or a twig, una hoja. And the plural is leaves, L-E-A-V-E-S. So very often when the singular ends in F, the plural changes to V-E-S. Leaf, leaves, life, lives, wife, wives, etc. So one leaf, two leaves.
I've thought of another one. Wolf, wolves, V-E-S. There are two main types of trees. There are deciduous trees, which lose their leaves in the autumn. So their leaves fall to the ground in the autumn. Remember that in American English, autumn is fall, F-A-L-L. And it's easy to remember because that's the time of year when the leaves fall to the ground. So fall in the US and autumn in the UK.
Yes, so autumn can be a very spectacular time of the year to see forests because leaves are falling all over the place. So when the wind blows, the leaves fall and there's like a carpet of leaves on the ground. So it can be a very special time to go to a forest. However, not all trees lose their leaves. Coniferous trees, also called evergreen trees, they don't lose their leaves. They have different types of leaves. They have leaves like needles, N-E-E-D-L-E-S, agujas, and they have those leaves all year round.
There are different levels to forests. If you go from the top, the very top of the trees, down to the forest floor, where Reza just said you can find blankets of leaves, the very, very top of a forest is called the upper canopy. The upper canopy. That's the top of the forest, which is formed by leaves and branches of the very tallest trees.
Then at the other end, you've got the underbrush. That's the level just before the forest floor. So just above the floor, that bit just before the ground is the underbrush.
And the forest floor, as Reza just mentioned, the bottom level of the forest, the level where you'd find the dead leaves, the dead plants, some animals walking around the forest floor.
Another thing you'll find in forests and woods is moss, M-O-S-S, moss, or musgo in Spanish. For example, lichen, that's L-I-C-H-E-N. It's a type of yellow moss. It mostly grows on the north side of trees in the northern hemisphere, but on the south side in the southern hemisphere. That's curious. So this moss, lichen, it likes, sorry for the pun, it likes one side better than the other. I wonder why that is.
I think it's because that's the side that's darkest and dampest. So that's where the moss forms and not a lot of sun gets to that side of the tree. And that's really, really useful if you're lost in a forest because you can find out which is north and which is south just by looking at the moss on the trees. Just make sure you know or remember that you're in the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere because it changes.
So that's some useful basic vocabulary about forests. What about some idioms, Craig?
Well, you know, I've mentioned this on podcasts before. I'm very, very bad at organising my time. So I've decided that I'm going to change the way I organise my time. I'm going to make a fresh start. I'm going to turn over a new leaf. If I turn over a new leaf, I decide to do something differently in a better way. Have you turned over any new leaves recently? Changed anything?
Not much, I'm afraid. It's the same old me, I have to confess.
So you haven't decorated your flat at all?
I'm afraid not.
Have you bought anything new for your flat recently?
No, not much progress there. What about you?
Well, I was going to say, if you maybe bought something like a new rug or a new picture to improve your flat, maybe I would say that you can't see the forest for the trees, or you can't see the wood for the trees. That expression means that you're very concentrated and fixated on one small thing that you can't see the bigger picture. Let's imagine for another example that the sound of this podcast is really not very good and I was focusing on the microphone filter, for example. Well, maybe the problem was more obvious than that, but if I'm obsessed with the microphone filter, I can't see the bigger picture of what's making the sound. So if you can't see the wood for the trees or you can't see the forest for the trees, you're confused and distracted and you can't see the bigger problem.
Craig, to be barking up the wrong tree is a common expression.
Barking like a dog.
Yeah, woof, 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 to bark. It means your efforts are in vain or fruitless. You're not going to get what you're trying to get if you're barking up the wrong tree.
Can you think of another example, Reza, with barking up the wrong tree?
Yes, I can. Imagine there's been a murder and the police have a couple of suspects, but they're pretty sure that it was Peter, not John. So they spend a lot of effort investigating where Peter was, who was he with, what did he do, has he got an excuse? A lot of effort, days and days and days. They try and listen to his telephone conversations. But you know what? It wasn't Peter. John is the murderer. So they're barking up the wrong tree. They're making a lot of effort, but they're not going to get anywhere because he wasn't the murderer. Barking up the wrong tree. Their efforts are in vain.
Another expression is money doesn't grow on trees. Money doesn't grow on trees. If something doesn't grow on trees, it's very difficult to get or to find. Obviously, money has value. It's valuable. It doesn't just grow in a forest. You have to work to earn it. So money doesn't grow on trees. Chocolate biscuits don't grow on trees.
Unfortunately.
Diamonds don't grow on trees. What else doesn't grow on trees? This podcast doesn't grow on trees.
No, but it is free. You can download it very easily.
Another expression with trees, you can be out of your tree. You can be crazy or completely drunk or maybe on drugs. If you're out of your tree, you're completely mad. You're not in touch with reality. When was the last time you were out of your tree, Reza?
Oh, a long time ago. I may have the odd drink, but I don't really get out of my tree these days. Not since I was a young man. And you?
It's been a long time. Yeah, I haven't been out of my tree for a long, long time. I'm staying in my tree. Actually, we don't say that, do we? We wouldn't say I'm in my tree.
No, not really.
You'd just be, look at John over there drinking and smoking marijuana. He's completely out of his tree. We mentioned the word branch before, rama. There's a phrasal verb to branch out, which means to maybe experiment or try different things. I'm a teacher, I teach English, but recently I've been branching out into audio editing. So that's something I'm trying as a different way to work and maybe earn some money. I'm branching out into audio editing.
Yeah, what he's doing is growing like a tree.
Exactly.
Branches are coming off at different angles. There's another meaning of branch. The branch of a business, for example, a bank. Most banks have many branches. They'll have at least one branch in every major city, maybe more, So, for example, Santander Bank have branches in all Spanish cities. And by the way, in all British cities as well these days. Santander Bank have many, many branches, sucursales.
What's the name of that cafe near your flat where you buy, sometimes you bought me a lovely alfajor with dark chocolate and dulce de leche.
Do you know what? I can't remember what it's called.
Is it called dulce de leche?
No, that's not where I bought that. No.
Oh, okay.
This is another place.
But does it have any branches in other parts of Valencia or it's just one shop?
This is a one-off.
Okay.
It's not dulce de leche, no.
Okay.
This is a place, it's a takeaway place.
That's a shame. No branches.
Another expression, this time with the word wood, which you'll hear a lot, is dead wood. It means the useless or inefficient members or parts of a group. Just like when the wood of a tree is dead, it tends to drop off or it rots, R-O-T, it just goes bad. So if someone or a group of people are dead wood, they're inefficient, they're holding you back, they're not very useful.
There's also a very good TV series. I think it's on Netflix, but it might be on HBO or Amazon Prime, but it's called Deadwood, which is the name of the village. It's a very, very good series if you haven't seen it. Definitely recommend it. Your neck of the woods is your area, the place where you live. My neck of the woods is down by the beach. Reza's neck of the woods is closer to the center of Valencia. Are there any good Japanese restaurants in your neck of the woods?
Plenty. It seems to be one of the best areas in the whole of Spain. If you want to get Japanese food, come to my neck of the woods. There's about a dozen Japanese restaurants in my neck of the woods.
So it's like tu barrio, no?
Yeah.
Your neck of the woods.
Yeah, but not necessarily. It can be country.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't visited my friend in France for a long while. And he says, you really must come over to my neck of the woods. My area could be as well, couldn't it? My country.
Yeah, true. Another expression is touch wood, or sometimes knock on wood. For luck, which people do in Spanish, don't they? Toca madera.
Yeah.
So touch wood.
To be out of the woods. Now, obviously, it could just mean you're not in the woods, all right? But there's also idiomatic, metaphorical expression. It means out of danger or safe. For example, there was a bomb alert. So me and my family, we drove very quickly away from the area where the bomb was supposed to be because we wanted to be out of the woods, out of the danger area, away from all the trouble.
And we're trying to record some podcasts so that we have enough podcasts to get you through the summer, so that you have one podcast each week until we can record again after the summer. And I think we're nearly out of the woods. What do you think? Do we have enough?
Yes, we've been recording loads and loads of podcasts in advance so that we won't be embarrassed by not being able to give you one every week over the summer.
And we're nearly out of the woods, I think, with this one.
When we finish this one, I think we're out of the woods. We've covered the whole summer.
So at the beginning, we mentioned wood and the adjective wooden, to be made of wood, the adjective to be made of wood. You can also use this metaphorically if someone's giving an unconvincing performance, for example. So you can use it literally to describe a wooden table or a wooden house or a wooden chair. But you can also say that, for example, Charlton Heston's performance was so wooden, it ruined the film. So he didn't move very well. He didn't act very well. He wasn't natural. He was very wooden. You can give a presentation on stage and you can look to be very wooden, a very wooden presentation. Your body isn't moving naturally.
To beat around or to beat about the bush, this word we had earlier, arbusto, to beat about the bush means to avoid talking directly about an issue. Imagine I wanted to borrow money from Craig, yeah? A loan, un préstamo. Instead of saying, Craig, could you please lend me £50? I could say to him, Craig, you remember you said that if I needed any favour, I could ask you? And Craig says, yeah.
Stop beating about the bush,
Any
Reza.
favour at all? And he just says, no,
Stop beating about the bush. Tell me what you want.
okay, I want £50. So he wanted me to go straight to the point and stop beating about the bush.
I think you're better off to go to your local branch of your bank.
Now, just for a bit of fun, we've included a link, a YouTube link, to an old, very old, but very well-known song about, let's say, about what you might see if you go down to the woods. I won't tell you any more than that.
So you mean if you go down to the woods today?
If you go down today, what might you see?
You might have a surprise.
Could be a surprise, yeah. We'll say no more. Follow the link if you're interested.
Yeah. Especially if you have children, they might enjoy this song. It's family friendly. Reza, when was the last time you were in a forest? Do you remember?
Yes, it was in Ireland. When? Let me think. In Ireland, around about Easter time.
And quite recently, this year.
Yeah. I was in Hillsborough Forest Park, which is a very, very nice place. there's a lake in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
In the royal borough of Hillsborough, there's a little forest near the castle, which is the Queen's official residence when she visits Ireland. So it's a very nice, very well-kept forest, very well-kept village, as you can imagine.
And it's open to the public.
Yes.
So if any listeners go there, they could explore the forest.
Yes, but not the Queen's residence, not Hillsborough Castle, sadly.
Do you enjoy walking in forests?
I do very much.
Why?
Yes. I like the peace, the tranquility, the opportunity to reflect, because you're surrounded by trees and plants, and there isn't even much sunlight getting in. I think it kind of forces you to reflect on things, don't you think?
Yeah, I agree. And this forest in Ireland, is it a dense forest?
No, it's not very dense at all, and it's not very big, but it's just enough to get you thinking, I'd say. Yeah. What about you? When was the last time you were in one?
I can't remember. It's been a few years. Probably a rainforest when I was away traveling, but I can't remember exactly which forest. I do like rainforests. I do like the noises, the sounds, the smells, the animals you find in rainforests. It's an adventure going inside. Which famous forest would you most like to visit? Is there one that you'd like to see?
A couple. I'd like to see the Black Forest in Germany. I'd like to visit the Amazon rainforest. But also, I'd like to visit any forest area. I don't know the name of any in particular, but any forest area in Central America, particularly Costa Rica, if I could come across some sloths, perezosos, in the midst of the forest. I would really love that.
They tend to be up high in the trees, don't they? In the upper canopy that we said before.
Exactly, hanging on by these long nails they got. I love the idea of strolling. That means walking casually, strolling through the forest, and I look up and wow, there's a sloth up above me having a pineapple. I'd love to see that.
There's apparently about 30% of the Earth's surface is covered by forests, and they are the lungs of the planet. Los pulmones, the lungs of the planet. Are you concerned about deforestation and the fact that we're losing some of the forests in the world?
I am, and I think all of us should be, to be honest, because we can very quickly deforest an area. It can be done in minutes, hours at most, but what took a few hours to deforest is literally going to take decades to reforest, to put the trees back again. Mm-hmm. So we're cutting trees down far too quickly, and we're not thinking about the long-term consequences. Those trees can't be replaced for many years. So in the meantime, that land that has been deforested, it's going to dry up. It's not going to produce anything. The animals that live there, their habitat has gone, so they're going to go somewhere else. They might die out. It's a vicious circle if we start deforesting, don't you think?
Yeah, I agree. I just want to mention Reza used 3 very common phrasal verbs there in his comments. He said to cut down trees, because cut down is reducir, cut down on smoking, but to cut down a tree, is it tallar?
Tallar, yeah.
Yeah. And dry out, secar. And the last one you used was?
Die out.
Die out.
Yeah.
Die out. What did you say?
I said that some species might die out as a result. They might become extinct.
Disappear.
Die out.
Yeah, that would be really, really sad. Well, now it's your turn to practice your English. We'd love to hear your thoughts about forests. Do you have forests near you? Tell us where you live, and if you like walking in forests, try and practice some of the vocabulary and some of the idioms that we've spoken about in this episode. You can send your messages on speakpipe.com/inglespodcast, or just record your voice and attach it to an email. You can send your emails to me, Craig, at inglespodcast.com.
Or to me, that's belfastreza@gmail.com.
Before we go, we'd love to thank our wonderful sponsors, starting with Bruno, our gold sponsor on Patreon, who offers walking tours of Copenhagen through his company, CopenhagenWalkingTour.com. Now, if you're going to Copenhagen and you're interested in seeing the city and having an experienced English-speaking or Spanish-speaking guide, then why not get in touch with Bruno, who offers castle tours of the city, walking tours around Copenhagen, and these tours come very well recommended. Also, if you're going to Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, Bruno offers tours led by local guides only of the favela area in Rio. Now, it's very safe, and the money that you contribute to the tour partly goes to help the community and give back to them to improve their daily needs. Go to Bruno's websites to find out more information, CopenhagenWalkingTour.com for Copenhagen and favelawalkingtour.com.br for Rio de Janeiro. Thank you to all our wonderful patrons who are supporting the podcast. Reza, who are they?
Ana Giovanna, Dana Constantin, Pachi Ibañez, Manuel Tarazona, Juan Carlos Rodado, Maite Palacín Pérez, Lara Arlem, Néstor from Luces Extrañas, María Gervati, Lorena, Sara Jarabo, Carlos Garrido, Mamen, Juan Leva Galera, Corey Finneran from the ivnv.com podcast, Miren Full, José Luis Arregui, Agus Paulucci, Mariel Riedemann, Manuel García Betagón, Raúl López, Rafael, José Manuel Fernández Picazo, Pilar Martínez, Gambati Blog, Igor Garmendia, Ignacio Espona, Kieran, Ana Ibarra, Marina Artiz Pena, Juan Carlos Pantín Fernández, Alejandro Pluma, Alex Cuadra, José Emilio Villena, Esperanza Colmenero, Emilio Manuel Martínez Rivas, Chema Santa Cruz, Ana Fernández Monterrubio, Carlos Cano Domingo, Gustavo, Antonio Díaz, José Antonio Muñoz, Eva María Elizalde Martínez, Arminda Fafo, Carlos Sánchez, Elvira Cortés, Francisco Javier Alejandra y Sebastián, Andrea Mío, Rogelio Menéndez, Antonio Lafuente, Eloy, Pablo Martínez, Miguel, Javier Correa Zambade, Alejandro Martínez, and Alejandro Ventura. And our latest patrons are Isabel Armada and Mar Carmona.
Thank you to all of those wonderful people for continuing to support the podcast and transcriptions for our podcast. You can join our Patreon program for as little as $1 per month, and by doing so, you get instant access to recent transcriptions lovingly transcribed by Angelica Bello from Madrid. If you would like to join that lovely list, go to patreon.com/inglespodcast. Thank you also to Patricia Alonso, who continues working hard transcribing episodes for you. And we now have episodes 1 to 22 and 131 to 142. Of course, not only Patricia, but there have been others who have helped us in the past, like Arminda from Madrid. Thank you very much. Alberto from Granada. Thank you. We really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you again next week, in which we'll be speaking about what, Reza?
Your feedback, and we'll be answering your questions.
So until then, it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
The music in this podcast is by Pitts. The track is called See You Later.